All right, we are live. Oh, and just heard my echo. I shouldn't shout to the microphone. Marisa, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show. It's the
Pleasure to be
fifth.
here.
Yeah, welcome. It's the fifth Campfire show. I couldn't believe it when we were planning for it. We kept trying to remember how many we've done, and five already. That feels like a lot already. Pretty proud of it. Um, So thank you again. Just for the audience joining us, we're going to spend a good hour, a full hour with Marisa, who is a graduate of New Camp. Marisa, you're going to tell us your story and how you got into the position that you're in right now, a team lead at Washington Mutual, or no, Northwestern Mutual.
Mhm.
Mutual, that's right. Um, so we are live right now on YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching us, hi. Hello. You are also live on Facebook, and we are live as well on LinkedIn. So it's a multicast of sorts. And I can see a lot of people also joining us online saying hi. Gregory, hello. Tyler, good to have you here. Or Gregory just applied for this school. Well, welcome. I hope to see you soon. Bingo is here. Oh, twice. Bingo is here twice. All right, maybe she's going to join us live this time, Bingo. We have Layla here. So, if you're not familiar with this show, and before we get into the conversation with Marisa, you're going to see a link provided by our Nightbot. Um, well, first, it's going to ask you to like and subscribe. And then we're going to provide to you a link that you can use to join us, and you will actually join the show. We ask that you have your microphone and your camera on, and you can have a conversation with Marisa and I and ask any question that you want. All right, with that being said, Marisa, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Yes, no problem. So, yep, my name is Marissa. I graduated from New Camp probably just over a year ago now, and then since then have been working in the tech industry. So that is why I'm here today.
So thank you. And you're joining us from where? Where are you right now?
I'm in Wisconsin, good old cold, snowy Wisconsin.
Is it snowing already or not
It
quite?
has, yes.
It
I've had
has
a
already?
delayed car. Yep.
I'm actually quite jealous. I'm waiting for the days, the snow days here, and
Oh,
being able to get out and enjoy
yeah.
that feeling. Um, so yeah, you mentioned that you graduated about a year ago. You started really in the middle of the pandemic, right?
Yes.
I think you started in May 2020. So it was
Yep.
not. I mean, it was kind of starting. I mean, middle start. I mean, you've spent the full from May to October learning with us. And which program did you join, by the way?
I did the full stack boot
The
camp.
full stack program.
Mhm.
That's right. Um, so, can you tell us a little bit before actually we get into the details of your experience at New Camp? Can you tell us a little bit about your job uh, prior to that? What you were doing before really getting into the tech world?
Yeah, so I was a headhunter, completely different field. I worked for a firm that would recruit manufacturing candidates. So I actually recruited mechanical engineers, supply chain people, quality control managers, and people like that. So it was cold calling every day.
Oh,
It
wow.
was very salesy, pretty
Yeah.
much a sales role. And so it was just kind of bring the volume and try to recruit as many candidates as you can. So very, very different from what I'm doing today.
Did you meet similar headhunters after your time at New Camp? People calling you, or cold emailing you on LinkedIn, and kind of remember the days where you were doing the same?
Yes, all the time. Yep, I get reached out to probably once a week, twice a week now, people pinging me, and it's like, "Huh,
Yeah.
that used to be me."
Yeah. Well, how do you handle that? Like, do you give them tips on how to do it right, or how do you approach that? I mean, what would you
Um,
say to your old you when you were doing it?
yeah, yeah, I think I just internally judge mostly. I usually don't reply to a lot of them,
Yeah.
but sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, that was a good pitch," and
Oh,
sometimes I'm
yeah.
like, "Ugh, that needs some work."
And you were, I mean, I understand you didn't necessarily like the job itself and the cold calling and the sales approach, but you were pretty successful at that. I mean, I looked into your LinkedIn profile, and you had I don't know, one award every year or something. Like, can you tell
Yeah.
us about that? What type of awards did you get at the time?
So we had just a lot of metrics. I think a lot of sales jobs will have that. So we had various metrics in terms of your total gross profit that would be tied to how many people you placed. We had different goals related to the number of calls to interviews to placements, that type of kind of sales funnel too. So we just had various goals like that, and there was kind of different competitions each year, and there'd be certain awards for that, and so just kind of got involved. And yes, I was very good at the role, but I think it just felt quite repetitive. I kind of was
Mm.
drawn to something that would be a little bit more of, different things and different challenges every single day. So
So, and that's totally understandable. I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to, it gets old to call people every day and, trying to sell the pitch. And I totally get that. So, how did you go from being a successful headhunter to thinking about moving into the world of tech? What led you mentally there?
So I was actually trying out a number of different options, at least in terms of researching online. I was thinking it was wide open. It's not like I only thought about tech. I was thinking
Mm.
about like many, many different
Yeah.
career opportunities. And I ended up finding a course on Udemy, which they
Oh, yeah.
sell them for like $10. You can learn how to, I think I picked a intro to JavaScript or something like that. And I just tried it out on my free time, and I ended up really liking it. And I thought to myself, this seems really challenging. There's a lot that I don't know here. And it kind of just spiraled from there. It kind of became my top option that I wanted to pursue.
Mm.
And I did that for maybe a month. It was pretty short. I had very, very low skill by the time I decided to enroll in new camp, but that was the next step for me.
So it's kind of discovering the challenges, the mental, cerebral challenges of coding with JavaScript that kind of hooked you. Like, that's something
Yep.
that you can really be feeling energized and challenged every day to do.
I think that was the biggest piece of it. I think another piece of it was just that I had absolutely no experience with it, and I tend to do that a lot in my life, just charge toward things that are brand new and fresh. And I knew that, you hear a lot of people talk about roles in software engineering and having pretty high job satisfaction and things like
Mm.
that. So I just thought, if I could pull this off, this would be amazing. So let's give it a shot.
Cool. So how long did you learn on your own using Udemy until you decided that maybe that wasn't enough for you? Do you remember that? How long it took you to kind of, self-study and then switch over to thinking about coding bootcamps?
It was pretty short. I tend to dive in head first on things, so it was probably close to 30 days.
Oh,
30,
wow.
maybe 40 days. Yeah,
Big question then. Did you complete that course, that Udemy course after the 30 days? Or is it still like unfinished on the
still
somewhere?
unfinished. Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
still unfinished.
That's, I mean, you know that you're not alone. Everybody does that pretty much. But it's, I mean,
Yeah,
you want to start online, right? You want to, have that first check that, yeah, I'm actually interested in that thing.
yeah.
So let me look at my notes. Yeah. So after 30 days, you were kind of convinced you wanted to pursue that. And what was your process about, finding more? Well, first, what made you think that it couldn't just be self-study?
So I was just thinking that there was an overwhelming amount of different resources on the internet. It's almost a curse. You think, oh, you can
Yeah.
find anything on the internet. But then if you don't have something structured by people who know what it takes to get a job or know what it takes to actually become a competent software engineer, I think it was mostly that, just thinking if I had a structured curriculum as well as like timelines to it, like once you're in a class, you don't get to say, oh, I don't feel like doing this today. You're going to buckle down and do it. That was another big piece. And then I kind of liked the thought too of connecting with other developers who are looking to do
Yeah.
the same thing that I was. I think those were the three big factors, really, just being kept on track and having somebody that had that vetted knowledge to get me there.
Gotcha. There's a ton of chatter right now. I don't know if can you see the chatter on YouTube and
Yes.
Facebook?
Yes.
So let me kind of address some of that. Fanny, I think you're trying to get a hold of us via phone. If you go to our website, at the bottom of it, there's a Calendly link, and you can schedule time with an advisor. You actually have an advisor as well on the stream. I saw Drew joining here. Um, But yeah, ask to schedule time like that. Use Calendly. It's probably the best time to talk to us. And as a reminder, there is a link. Let me show you this one. There you go. There is a link if you want to join Marisa and myself on this stream. You'll appear on the screen and switch on your mic and your camera, and we can have a conversation. All right. So you knew you needed the structure. You needed start date, end date, the community. What was your process then about how did you look for a bootcamp? What were you looking for? How did you land on New Camp ultimately?
So I was mostly looking online. I would also sometimes track people down on LinkedIn and reach out to them too if I saw that they were from a particular boot camp and ask about that experience also. But I mean, I made a spreadsheet because that's what I do. So I had the different boot camp names and then the cost associated with it, and some of the,
Yeah.
is it remote? Is it not? Is it full time? Is it not? Those types of things that were my key things that I was paying attention to. And then I just kind of whittled it down from there. I'll be honest, a lot of the ones that were like $20,000, they were just off the table right away because I
Yeah.
just thought if this doesn't work out or I get deeper into this and decide it's not the right path or whatever, that just seemed like too large of a amount of money to dump into that. So that was a big factor, of course. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was laying things out on a spreadsheet, kind of doing the pros and cons assessment, and then there was a number of things that kind of drew me into New Camp.
Awesome. So, how did you sign up? Like, did you talk to an advisor? I mean, we just had a conversation. Someone is trying to talk to us. Did you call us? Did you attend an open house, or did you just check online, LinkedIn, and then registered? How did that work?
So I didn't do the open house or the call. I think I did ask maybe like 6 to 10 questions over email to an
Okay.
advisor in advance
Yeah.
just to double check on some things that I was, wanted to clarify. And then I do remember tracking down a few people specifically from New Camp on LinkedIn as well and asking them questions.
Oh wow.
And
How did
then,
that
and
go?
then, yeah, I just put in my deposit and there I was.
There you go. All right, that's pretty cool. So let's talk about that time that you spent in the program. So from May to October 2020, and I don't. Did you stop? Did you pause the boot camp and resume later, or did you really just from the beginning to the end you finished as expected? What was your experience there?
It was just beginning to end. I did the
Oh wow,
regular dates how it was. I did them back to back to back and just got it done.
that's exceptional. It's pretty hard, and that's why we offer that option to kind of pause, reschedule for later. How did
Yeah.
you handle that? I mean, how did you squeeze that much learning time into your schedule? You were still employed, right? You were still doing those cold calls, or did you
I
quit?
was done with that. Yep. So that
Okay.
helped a lot. So I had a wider open schedule for that. And then I think I just made it a priority. Like it
Yeah.
would be the first thing that I did. I kind of pushed aside, I'll do that social thing if I have time at the end, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But I was wanting to get as much out of it as I could. So I really just kind of prioritized it in my day and tried to stay balanced with a lot of the staying active things that I like to do outside and exercising and all that, but just kind of flip flopping back and forth until I had everything done. And that was how it worked out for me.
That's great. What would you say was the hardest moment in your experience, like during those 6 months learning to code? Tell us about the darkest moments in that experience where, and then how did you overcome them? Of course,
Yeah,
if you can share that with us.
I think it's funny because the hardest thing probably actually was the node section, except
Oh,
I remember the React section feeling very hard. Like I think with how quick you kind of jump into it, I think that one just hit me the most. The React side, it was like, I don't get what's going on here. There was some moments where I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to figure this out. And I think just leaning on other classmates at that time
mhm.
and your instructor, my React instructor did extra office hours and things like that. So I think just leaning on those things helped a lot. But it was also just the affirmation, like, of course you can do this. A lot of people convert careers and figure this out, so you can do it too.
Okay. Do you remember who was your instructor? Do you want to do a shout out if you remember that?
Yes, it was Eric. I'm trying to remember his last name started with an O. It was like Oladovic or something.
Uh, I'm not going to be able to
If
connect
he's
with that.
watching right now, he's gonna want to punch me one. But it's
Let me see
Eric
if I can pull it. Maybe
Olavson. It's Olavson. Eric
Olafson.
Olavson. Yeah,
Oh yes,
yeah.
Eric is great. Eric is great. All right.
Just
So shout
popped in
out
my
to
head.
Eric for
Yes,
doing the
shout out.
extra office hours. So it was kind of a roller coaster, right? So Bootstrap was fairly simple. The beginning of React was okay, and then I think that's week 3 of React that starts to get really kind of tough and ugly.
Yeah.
And then did it feel better with during React Native? Some people say it gets better in during React Native, and then it gets harder as well in Node. Was it kind of what you experienced or different?
I think those were probably equally as hard for me, the React and the
Yeah,
React Native, just because it didn't. Some people say, React all of a sudden one day, if you keep doing it, will just click with you. But I don't think that
yeah.
clicking moment had still happened to me before React Native. So they were pretty
Oh yeah,
challenging.
okay. You were still waiting for that click.
Yeah,
So
I was.
when did that click happen then for you?
So the funny thing is, I don't even use React Native on, or React or React Native on
Oh
my
yeah. So you
on my
moved on.
yeah, I moved on, so it never clicked.
Well,
No.
so here's the thing. I don't want to make a bet, but I could. I will bet that if you go back to React or React Native now, after doing other things and learning other programming languages, I'm guessing
I do Node and
you
Java
do,
now,
you do Node
so
and Java.
yeah.
So I bet if you go back there, you'll be like, oh, I understand now.
Yes, I
I,
completely agree.
I
I'm sure
think
I
it will
will.
have clicked like if you were there.
Yep.
So okay, so you're challenging Node and you power through. I think you probably had a really good, and I don't recall, I should have actually looked into it, but you had a pretty good portfolio project, I assume, because I think you earned the honors when you graduated. So you graduated with honors. Can you tell us about your project? What was it?
Yes, so I actually built a crowdfunding website. So it was kind of a fictitious where people could post their different entrepreneurial ventures or their social ventures and then collect money for it. So it was
Oh,
kind of a cool idea. I just think that crowdsourcing websites are really cool. So I thought, oh, I'm going to make one of these, and so I built that with React and everything and submitted it. And yeah, that was a big challenge, like applying everything we learned and
mm,
making it come out into something that looked good.
that's pretty cool. When did you start working on that portfolio during the bootcamp? Did you start with React?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I started with React. I don't remember like week 2, week 3 when I
Yeah, yeah.
actually put it together, but I remember there being planning increments throughout. And then I think my actual coding on it, though, started pretty close to right at the end of that course with that final week that there is afterward to get it submitted. So,
Yeah, pretty cool. So, and did you continue to work on the portfolio after you graduated?
no, I have
No.
not. I've not added to that, but I'm sure it would
Uh,
look much better if I
yeah.
revisited it right now.
All right. So let's actually talk about what you did after graduation because it was really interesting to see um, that you joined Genesis 10 and they have a program called Dev10. Do you want to
Mhm.
just tell us a little bit about that? What is it? What is Genesis 10? What is Dev10? What did it do for you?
Yes. So Genesis 10 is a talent development company in software specifically.
Okay.
They also do regular contract placements as well. But this Dev10 program that I did specifically, they actually train you for another 3 months. So a traditional boot camp that's in source. So they have their own instructors and everything. And then they place you at one of their top clients that they're partnered
Mm,
with. So it's kind of that double, like some contracting companies would just place you, but they actually train you first and
yeah.
then place you. So I enrolled technically in another boot camp by
Yeah.
joining them. And that one was back end, so it was Java specific. Actually, it was full stack, but Java was kind of the primary driver there. And I learned for another 3 months and then got placed into Northwestern Mutual.
And you that was a strong selection process or like how many seats
Yes.
did they offer?
So there would be 20 in each cohort. And
Yeah,
then I guess I would assume the cohorts can't be any sooner than 3 months apart because it was 3 months long. So,
gotcha. So
and
it's
then they have
pretty
different,
selective.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a I mean I really like that because I mean there's a concept of apprenticeship and it's not exactly that, but it kind of sounds like that as well, where if you were to enroll in a coding bootcamp that costs $20,000, and then what it does, it prepares you for another coding bootcamp that costs, I don't know, actually, we'll talk about that. That kind of doesn't make sense. But I feel good about seeing students, really build their craft for 6 months with us. And then right after that, getting into a position that's kind of an apprenticeship in my mind, where they're actually going to place you right after that. And we'll talk about the position that you're in right now. But so speaking of Dev10, did you pay for the training, or did they pay you? How did it work? I'm trying to figure out if it's a revature type of business, or I don't know if you can talk about
So
it. Actually.
yeah, they pay you to do the boot
They
camp.
pay you. That's
Yep.
pretty cool. So they
Yes.
invest in you, and if you leave right after the boot camp, you owe them the money, right? I would think.
Correct. Yep. Yep, exactly. So you'd be signing the contract where if you just decide one day, hey, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, you
Yeah,
would obviously owe that money back for the boot camp.
yeah.
So
And was it tremendously expensive, or was it kind of reasonable?
I didn't quit, so I don't
Yeah, you don't know.
yeah, I
Okay.
didn't have to run into that. But yes, I think it's enough of an incentive where you would not want to be quit. I
Yeah.
mean, you're signing up to get
Mhm.
yourself into tech. So
And so you did that for 12 weeks, I saw online, and then were they the one then placing you at Northwest Mutual?
yes, so I interviewed with Northwestern Mutual in my maybe 8th week out of those 12, and then the directors who interviewed me selected me, so then I joined them.
That's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
great. So tell us about that. So first day on the job, what was it like?
It was I think the funny thing when you're doing a boot camp is that people always, at least how I felt and a lot of the classmates felt, was that we still didn't really understand what somebody does all day as a software engineer. We would all be like, what are we going to do when we get there? Because I'm sure it's not doing all these coding challenges like we are today. It's going to be different than that. So I had no idea what to expect. First day was honestly a lot of like remote setup type of stuff, getting your
Mhm.
laptop set up, getting you a part of all these different Slack channels and PDLs and things like that. So it was kind of an admin type of a day. And then introductions, had maybe 3, 4 meetings with different groups of people that I was going to be working with. So not a lot of like heavy coding or anything on the first day.
Yeah, that's good. Let's look at the chat right now. There was a few questions, and I want to remind people that if you want to ask your questions live, please dial in. That's the link, url.newcamp.co/dial in. You will be joining Marisa and myself, and you'll be appearing live on the screen, asking your question. But let's see, what else do the people are ask? What else are they asking about?
I
Did you
see
see anything?
one about was Dev10 in person or remote.
Oh, yeah,
Mine
that's
was
right.
remote. I think
Yeah,
they used to do it in person before COVID hit, but I think they're all still remote currently right now, at least.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so first day was pretty okay. Um, what is the feeling like when you're grabbing your first ticket, or when you're actually asked to do something? I mean, to actually code.
Mm,
Can you describe to us how that felt?
I think it felt like, oh my gosh, I hope I can do this. I remember that day actually. I got
Yeah,
finally put on a team. I was kind of floating around at first, seeing which team was going to need me, and then I joined
yeah.
this specific team. And I remember they assigned me something right out of the gate that was basically building a new service and an endpoint for something that we were doing. And I was just like, well, hope this goes well. So it was kind of overwhelming, but you
You mean
kind of
REST API and endpoint? REST API endpoint?
yeah,
Was it?
yeah. And so you kind of just look through the examples that you can find that are similar-ish to what you're trying to do and, ask a lot of questions. I think that's something that was strong that I came out of the gate with, was asking a lot of questions. There's some developers that'll have no idea what they're supposed to do and just they're very quiet and they just kind of sit there and they don't,
Yeah.
clarify what they need. But I was always just ready to ask a question, even if a few of them were dumb sometimes.
Yeah. So we have Gregory Jordan and Kasim Zaid joining us. Let's see if we can bring both of you at the same time and then have a chat. Let's see how that goes. All right. Gregory and Kasim, welcome to the show. Oh, look at that. Let me see if I
All right,
can.
thank you, thank you.
There you
Thank you.
go. Um, It's great to have you in. So let's start with Gregory. Gregory, can you tell us where you're calling from, and if you have a question for us?
Yes, I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia, specifically in Stone Mountain.
All
And
right.
I actually have a couple of questions for Marisa. First, the first question is, did you experience imposter syndrome while you was learning? And at what point did you feel like a developer? Because you said that first day you still didn't know what to. I mean, you didn't know what you was going to do all day as a
Yeah.
developer. So when did you start feeling like a developer?
So first part, yes, absolutely. There was imposter syndrome because I think especially, when you're online researching boot camps, you see all this stuff about, I mean, a lot of people don't do well, right? And then some success cases come out and you're thinking to yourself, is it me? Am I going to fall in that bucket or am I not? So yes, there was definitely imposter syndrome along the way. And I still have that at work, to be completely honest with you. I've actually had a fast rise already from, I started off as a software engineer and I'm already in leading a scrum team of software engineers. And I
Wow.
still to myself sometimes look around and I'm like, how did I end up here? Like, how is this happening? So it that doesn't go away. But in
Okay.
terms of when I felt like a developer, I think once you start to actually get those tickets or stories or whatever you're working on at work, and then you're writing the code and it's successful and you figure out how to troubleshoot it and how to make it successful and how to, check it into whatever you're using, GitHub, GitLab, whatever it is. I think those are the moments where you're like, okay, I can do this. I'm a developer.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Gregory. Kasim, you had another question. You had welcome first. Where are you calling from?
Oh yeah, so just like Greg over there, I'm also calling from Georgia, Stone Mountain.
Oh,
So we're
nice.
gonna be hooking up with Gregory.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, for me, just like I said, I've been thinking about tech for quite a while now. I'm a high school teacher, and I've been going back and forth, and finally realized that this is the time to do it. So one of the major things is that how um prepared did you feel you were when you left the boot camps and then started the job? Do you feel like you were ready, or you needed some more things to learn? And how did you feel just like at the beginning of the job?
I think by the time I had the two boot camps, especially back to back, I think I was feeling I was pretty ready. I don't know if I was feeling ready, but I actually was when I saw, the different work that was assigned to me and what I was going to be doing. So there was still that, like we mentioned, that imposter syndrome thinking, like, I don't know if I have these skills. But by the time people were actually handing me the various work that we were going to be doing on the team, it felt like, okay, I actually have seen this in one or the other boot camp or both of them. So I actually, after especially the two back to back, I'm coming in probably with a lot more knowledge than a typical like computer science grad that's straight out of school, for example, because there's
Mm,
so much hands-on experience with the boot camps.
Okay.
okay, that's good. That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah.
That's very good.
I think I
And
got
when
one
you
more
when you
question.
when you
I'm
did
sorry. Go
the
ahead.
boot camp full time,
Mhm.
so the regular days it was still remote, and then you just did the Saturdays live sessions. Is that how
Yes.
it
Yep.
was?
Yep. So it was remote during the week. And then, yep, we had, I think they were 4 or 5 hour chunks on Saturdays that we were live on video. And then whatever office hours were available too with whatever teacher. So, yep, that's how I did
Okay,
my schedule.
I see. That's very good.
Mhm.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Gregory and Kasim, for joining. So I'm assuming you haven't joined New Camp yet, or are you the student already, or are you thinking about joining?
I know as far as I go, I know I just signed up for I think the first program, the 4 week one,
Oh yeah.
and then after that I'm probably gonna be in the full stack program.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so that's
Oh,
that's where my line of thinking is right now.
I'm looking forward to seeing you on our Slack community. How about you, Gregory?
I actually been seeing the advertisement for New Camp for a while, and I thought it was like I did kind of what Marissa did, but I did it in my head and through experience the boot camp thing. And I was so excited about learning how to code about 2 years ago that I actually signed up for a boot camp that I won't name, and the ISA is yeah, and the back end of it is I I actually learned a lot, but I wasn't able to finish because things happened with the school. So I'm really, really passionate about it. And then I came across New Camp,
Gotcha.
and I came across the whole pitch about the fee and everything like that, and that kind of drew my attention more. So today, I actually signed up today, maybe
That's
about
awesome.
6 hours ago.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, I'm sorry that you signed the ISA. I hope you don't owe too much on it after leaving. I know sometimes you get stuck with a big part of the bill still. But yeah, it's we're looking forward to seeing you as well, Gregory, on our Slack channel.
Okay, thank you. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
And we're gonna bring Zach on the line. Oh, and we have many people now wanting to join. That's pretty awesome. All right, so
We
Zach,
don't bite, you know. We're
yeah,
very
Zach, you're
funny.
live. Hey, thanks for joining. Where are you calling from?
Hi, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, pretty good.
Um, I can switch my headphones if I need to, but I'm coming from Boise, Idaho.
Oh,
Mm.
nice. Cool.
I was just curious if, Marissa, if you could talk about the maybe surprises of developing in the financial market. I'm assuming that's what you're doing. And so I've seen other people talking about kind of the regulations that you have to deal with when you're in that sector. So
Yes. So I saw your question in the chat, was trying to think about that one. And kind of the funny thing is that our code base is so complex and large that you could tell me that I'm developing for a different industry and I'd probably have no idea. I mean, it's so deep and complex that was my first thought when I read your question. But you are correct that a lot of our work is driven by regulations, and it is financial industry and investment and insurance and things like that. So it guides a lot of the work, but I don't think that it would, at least from my experience, impact how you feel as a developer every single day. You know, for you, again, our code being so complex, like it could be that we were writing code for a completely different thing and it would be similar in nature too. So yes, a lot of it's driven by those regulations, but I don't feel it as much as an engineer. You might feel it more on like the product, you know, like a product manager kind of a side, or marketing manager or something like that.
Yeah,
very
that
cool.
makes
Thank you
sense.
so much.
Zach, how far along are you in your own journey?
This is Friday, so 5 days.
Oh, 5 days.
Yeah,
So did you join New Camp, or do you do something else?
yes, well, I've been coding on APIs and backend things in the past, and so,
Nice.
but as you probably have heard from other students, when you're coding on things for like your local business or the place you work, most people never see that code, and so it never has that level of like scrutiny and feedback and insight, and it doesn't. I'm not growing as a developer, building things that fit the needs of my company, and so I joined this just to really force myself to push farther. And so actually, I think I saw Ludo. I saw you on, was it Dawn?
Oh yeah,
Dawn
Don the
something.
developer. Yeah.
Yes,
A year
I saw
ago.
that video.
Actually, yeah, I think it was just a year ago. Yeah, about that.
And it really impressed me. I was trying to figure out the scam and I couldn't figure it out. And so I thought, like it's low enough cost that that I can eat that if it all goes badly. So I signed up. Actually, I saw that over the weekend, and then Sunday night I saw that there was a boot camp starting Monday, and I said, sure, let's just do that. And
Let's
so,
just do that. Yeah. The two, not it's too good to be true kind of thing. That's still out there, right? People are like, that doesn't make any sense. How do you do the math on the price? Yeah. Well, there's a secret to that. The secret is we are a tech company as well, not just a school. And we have built our own platform to allow us to automate a ton of stuff that we would have done otherwise, would have to have done by hiring 20 people. So that's a big part of the success. The other part is really relying on the network of instructors. They're not full-time employees. They are part-time with us, contractors, people who just passionate. And it's just not having the burden of full-time employees doing the teaching. It really helps as well. And the good news is you get people that are in the professionals, still developers, not full-time teachers. So yeah.
I love that.
Well,
Very much
it's
so.
a pleasure to
Thank
have
you.
you, Zach. We'll say hi on Slack, and good luck. Thank you
Yeah,
for
good
joining.
luck.
Bingo is joining. Bingo, I think you've tried to figure out your video, but if you don't have it, that's okay. How are you doing, Bingo? You're live. Oh, we cannot hear you. I don't know if you are muted. Are you there? Maybe not.
Somebody thinks people are dialing in to the stream just to troll. That's what one of the comments says. So
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is a real person or not.
I've been warned. So I'm still in touch with Don, by the way, and him and I talked about. Yeah, Bingo is the real person.
He's
Yeah,
here.
yes,
Okay.
he is. Absolutely. Well, Bingo, I'm going to remove you from the stream until you figure out your tech issues, and then you just ping us. So Don actually suggested or kind of invited me to do a show like this one. I don't know what we were talking about. Like we were talking about me going back on his show, and Don is very protective of his brand and his impartiality, and so having me and Newcamp too often on the show wasn't necessarily something he wanted to do. But then he was like, "What are you doing with your own YouTube channel?" And I'm like, "Nothing really. It's just a repository of videos right now that doesn't make any sense." I was just telling Marisa that before doing this show, we were doing open houses twice a month, and every open house was looking like the previous one. So there wasn't a lot of excitement and interest around that. So yeah, Don is a great guy. I mean, go subscribe and like his channel. Tons of integrity and smarts with Don. So you can go wrong with what he will have to advise you. He also has a coaching side business on the side. And so you can actually have private sessions with him if you're interested. All right, I saw someone else join. So Michael Johnson, if you're ready, you're going to be live. Oh, okay. That's the trolling that we were warned about. All right. Well, I don't know what happened. Maybe, okay. And so Don actually just warned me about just that type of things. Let's go back to where we were. That's kind of interesting. So, yeah, I want to get back, Marisa, to your experience because you achieved something that is possible because you're a living proof of it, but still incredible when you think about it. You had no prior coding experience when you decided to learn to code. You spent 1 month doing self-learning. Yeah, Chevas, we have trolls, new threshold. Yeah. Chevas is in the team. And then you joined the boot camp and you got a job, 3 months while doing the additional boot camp. So that's, by all standards, pretty incredible. What do you attribute that success to? Why do you think it worked so well for you? And what kind of advice you will have for others who want to kind of follow your footsteps?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people ask that and they think that the answer is going to be all about the coding itself, but I think there's a much bigger picture than that. First off, yes, you do need to pay attention and work really hard in your boot camps. That's just kind of a given, I think. But beyond that, I think the biggest thing that made me successful so quickly is from a job search perspective, I was very aggressive, I guess, in ways that are different than most people would approach a job search. So I would, you can't just submit blind resumes to companies as a junior developer. They're not going to look at them. Maybe if you're lucky, they'll look at them. But I think my approach there was find the CEO or somebody higher up, like a HR manager on LinkedIn, and reach out to them directly and say, this is why I applied to your company. This is why I'm excited about this role. Would love to hear from you, that kind of thing. Because if you track down the CEO or the HR manager, they're going to at least pay attention. And they might then at least ping their talent acquisition person, say, okay, look at that resume. Like at least you're going to get your foot in the door that way. So I think a lot of people don't do that. I saw so many discouraging posts on LinkedIn that were like, well, put in my 400th job application today. And it's like, if it takes you more than 50, you're doing something wrong. If it takes you more than maybe 25, there's probably something going on there. So I think that it's about maximizing how you actually connect with people. I also joined like every meetup that you could join. So I was on all these different calls, and I actually face-to-face talked to people, because it was in the middle of COVID, but actually getting in people's heads, making sure that you're a real person there and talking about your skills. I think that was huge from the job search perspective. And then the third piece on the actual job is just genuine curiosity, I think. I don't sit there and stay quiet when I don't get something. I ask questions. I strike up small talk with people. I'm engaged and I'm there. And I think those three things together were a big piece of the reason.
This is so important what you just said, because you're right. A lot of graduates or people before even joining a coding bootcamp are kind of thinking that their job hunt is going to be, you're going to have to apply to 8 jobs a day or 7 jobs a day. It's kind of it's kind of a numbers game. If 0.01% of people reply to me, maybe I have a chance. And yes, you want to do some of that, but what you just described in terms of getting out there and being recognized in the crowd is so important. My personal experience. So we have students joining every 5 weeks, and way more students than I can remember. And yet I remember students. And the only reason why I remember them, and I'm going to think of them for maybe an opportunity down the line, is because they are visible. Bingo, actually, is fantastic at that. I think she just joined, and she was so out there, so visible, that I knew about her before she actually started her bootcamp.
Yep.
And you cannot underestimate how much CEOs, VP in companies are looking for talent all the time. That's a second nature. You will be on your LinkedIn, be on your TikTok. I'll be on my Facebook. I'll be on Career Karma. And there's always that recruitment, finding talent aspect of how we look at things. And so if you're out there, if you're blogging, if you're reaching out, if you're chatting about your experience, if you articulate, if you're sharing stuff about yourself, people are going to hatch onto that, and we're going to recognize your name, and we're going to think about you, and we're going to know about you as well. We're going to be, hey, I'm looking for someone in education. Well, I remember that person who used to be a teacher. And so that's so important. I'm really glad you shared that. And yes, if you're sending 50 resumes and you don't hear back, there's probably something you want to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just have to think about it as, don't do exactly what everyone else is already doing. You're going to have to stand out, and it's not by changing one sentence on your resume. It's going to be by actually connecting with the people.
That's right. That's exactly that. So, where do you see yourself in a couple of years? And actually, let me preface that question with an aspect of your experience that I noticed on your LinkedIn, which is you've attended a Harvard online course on entrepreneurship. So is that in your future? Are you thinking about, and you had your crowdfunding project, how do you think about your future right now?
So within a couple of years, I probably wouldn't say. The entrepreneurship route has always been very intriguing to me. I've always thought a lot about, starting a company, providing something that's valuable to people, and then just the connections that you get to make, I think, in that field. So that's why, I kind of took that course. I've been involved in some other networking groups that are related to entrepreneurship. I think a smart way to do it, I definitely considered making a web development sort of business on the side. So I think something like that would be really cool. But in terms of my career path and kind of growing with my company too, I could definitely see myself in a full manager of engineering kind of a role within a few years.
Gotcha.
But both are intriguing.
Yeah. So going into the ranks of engineering and management.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. I think that's how it happened so quickly too. Again, I was just software engineering, just in the code all day. And then because of kind of what we were touching on before, the personality just coming out, There's so many people on calls every single day that we have group meetings, and you have no idea who they are at the end because they never say a word and they never turn the camera on, and things like that. And so I think I very quickly rose as somebody that's going to speak up, that's going to contribute ideas, that's going to be a part of the conversation, and just kind of that helped me build into that leadership role already.
Cool. So actually, yeah, we had a conversation right before we went live on your personality, and we were talking about how there's a stereotype of the developer, or the stereotype is someone who's introvert, and there's a reason for that stereotype. It's because coding requires you to spend many hours a day, looking at your screen, at this screen, being in the zone, right? There is that term, being in the zone. If you watch the Social Network movie, you see those developers being in the zone. Like you can't talk to them. They're like in the matrix of sorts. And it's true that if you're an introvert, that personality trait matches pretty well what you're going to be required to do on a daily basis. But you enjoy yoga, you do hiking, you do biking, you do running, you do kayaking. You're pretty outgoing. So can you describe to us what is your approach of this job, and I think how did it bring you, how is your additional personality traits kind of helped you to evolve into the position that you have now?
I think that I never really thought about my personality as I was approaching it. Yes, I had heard of that stereotype where you're going to be, like in a basement coding all day or whatever. But I just thought to myself, that can't be real. That just can't be how it actually is. So I didn't take too much stock in that in terms of going into the new career path. But now being in the company, I think it just stands out right away. There's so many quiet people. But again, that personality can work great if all you want to do is code all day long. However, the people skills still come into it all the time, because when you're dealing with complex software systems, you still have to have a lot of meetings, a lot of collaboration. There's a lot. You don't just decide what you're going to code and go do it. There's a lot of planning together and strategizing and meetings and things like that. So I think for me, it's just helped me evolve into not only doing that code, but helping direct a team already, in terms of the work that we're pulling in, and then getting to interface with other teams like test engineering, product teams, marketing teams, and things like that. So it's helped a ton, and it definitely stands out. I don't know if you all think I fit the stereotype, but maybe not what you were expecting.
I think the stereotypes need to be broken, and people need to be open to other ways of contributing to the profession. So so we've been talking about the position that you have now, but I haven't really asked you the question, what is it that you do now? Yeah. What and a lot of people have a kind of an idea of what a software engineer or junior software engineer does. I don't think many people really understand what a team lead does. I mean, when you were saying that you own a Scrum team, what does that mean? Can you explain to us what do you do on a daily, weekly basis?
Yes. So in general, just to ground you in some context, we are primarily back-end engineers, a little bit full stack, but it's pretty heavy on back-end systems. And we are handling all of the software systems that would handle communications that go out to the clients of the company. So it's a large system, a lot of complexity to it. And basically what happens is we decide to do these different initiatives in our software system that comes down from the business side, comes down through product teams. And then I'm kind of that gatekeeper on the product side and the engineering side that connects the two sides together. So a lot of the role, like on a week-to-week basis, like you said, might be interfacing with the product side to really understand what requirements are coming down, like what that end goal is that we are then going to build out, and then turning around and providing that guidance to the technical team, the engineers, to say, this is how we're going to execute what they asked us to do. And then it's, dividing that work into smaller chunks that can be handed out to the different teams. We measure, I think a lot of companies will measure that in some terms of like points or effort or something that divides up the little pieces of work so that you can kind of plan out different sprints, like a 2-week sprint or 4-week sprint or whatever you're doing. So that's in a nutshell, very high level, what I do week to week.
Let me ask you: are you involved in deployment as well? Do you do DevOps, or do you just deal with the code base,
We deploy as well.
or you deploy as well?
Yeah. Yep. It's
Can you-
full. It's like everything CI/CD. We do a lot
Oh yeah.
of like a lot of people contributing to the same code bases too. So it's a lot of coordination amongst different teams. But yeah, it's the whole kit and caboodle.
Do you have a kind of an interesting / horror story to tell us about maybe a deployment that went wrong, or getting a call at 1 a.m.? Do you have something like that happened to you in the business?
Not yet. Knock on wood.
Okay, good. Well, that's been good testing then.
Yeah. Yep. I'm pretty new in the new role, so I guess give it time. But no,
Yeah.
nothing massively horror story yet.
That's great. I think people maybe don't understand the distinction between in companies like that, being a product manager and being in the software or the engineering team. How can you display what is the role of a product manager and the relationship with the software engineering team?
So how I would think about it is the product manager, in terms of at least how a lot of software engineers would think about it, they can talk about the end goal of the product more how a client would see it. So the client, they can talk about it in layman's terms, like, here's what I want to see. I want you to build me a scooter with a light on the front or something. And then the engineering team turns around, they say, okay, where is this light going to be? How bright is this light going to be? How is the scooter going to be structured? Those types of things. And they turn around and turn that into the nitty-gritty code of it. So the technical team, I would say the engineers technically don't need to know super deeply what product is doing, except for how that's getting interfaced down to them from a team lead, such as myself. And likewise, the product team doesn't need to know the deep technical details of how you are executing it. They just provide those like high level specs of, here's how this needs to look, and this is kind of what the general customer experience needs to look like.
Cool. All right, let's look at the chatter. There was a question from Gregory, and I think Zach answered it. Gregory, I don't know if you're registered and if you're registered for Python, but we are actually touching on that. The last module of the Python Bootcamp is touching on CI/CD. Do you see anything that we should try to answer here? Yeah, bingo. Sorry for it not working. Maybe next time.
She could still type in her question if you want. I don't know if
Yeah, you're right.
she has access, but
Yeah, speaking with CEOs, that's a great idea.
it helped me a lot. It was
Hopefully not the same one.
Yeah, no, it was a fruitful job search. I think it was like 12 applications and 2 offers and another second interview coming. So,
so hold on, you had multiple offers?
mhm.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What made you decide between those offers?
So they were very opposite of each other. This was, more training for one thing, and then the placement into a larger company. I think my company's, I don't know, in the several thousands of employees. And the other one was completely opposite. It was like a small startup, like a small business kind of a place. So I just thought, for learning's sake, that A, getting another boot camp, and then B, being in a bigger company with a lot of people to learn off of, that was kind of my big distinguisher for me.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, because you got the Dev10 offer as well as an actual job offer.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
So I decided more learning, and then I'll go to the job.
That's awesome. And right in the middle of the pandemic.
Mhm.
This is just
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I know. The odds were against me, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I was a little skeptical.
So I have a question. There is that T-shirt that you're wearing. So we wrote a blog post about you a few months ago, and you wear that very interesting T-shirt. And I don't know if I can actually bring it up. Let me see if I can find it. And then you have the same T-shirt, I think, on your link. Oh, there you go. You got it. There you go. So perfect. So can you tell us the story of this T-shirt?
So these are all important women in the history of tech. Hopefully some of you recognize these names. But they are, we have Ada Lovelace, Dorothy Vaughan. If anyone's seen like Hidden Figures, the movie, the actual women in real life who are behind some of that work at NASA are on this shirt. So I actually found it from another woman developer who converted into the field from a completely different career path. And she thought this shirt was really cool design. So she made the design and put it out on the internet. So I bought one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Are you still part of the Women in Tech channel on our Slack?
I think so. Yes, I should be for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's I think so. The funny thing is, our company, Northwestern Mutual, actually just ran their second annual Women in Tech conference yesterday. So they offer that for free for anyone to be involved in, and so that was a cool thing to
The
just
T-shirt
listen
for
to.
free or the conference for free?
The actual conference is free. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's internal or it's also external for people actually from
Also
anywhere?
external from anywhere.
Oh,
Yep. It's just ran by my company. So
gotcha.
yeah,
All right.
very cool.
What did you learn over there? What can you share with us about this event?
So the opening speech was actually Abby Wambach, U.S. national women's soccer team, if we have any soccer fans in the house.
Okay.
And so I caught her discussion and then another team's discussion that they had. But I think her biggest point was just, which is really applicable to this whole boot camp scenario, is just that you can't always look next to you for examples of what to chase after. You have to kind of listen inside on what you want to do and just follow that path, because then someday somebody's going to be looking to you as that example of what they want to follow. So I think that really resonated with me, in that I was reaching out to people before I enrolled in the boot camp, but I never really found someone that seemed exactly like me with my same goals and my same background and all of that. But I just decided to go for it anyway. And I said, if I'm successful, then I'll be the first one that I knew that was successful doing something like that.
That's
So I
pretty
thought that
cool.
was really cool from her speech.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think at the opposite of that, I think people are going to listen to you and look at you as a role model or an inspiration, at least, for getting into tech. Let me see if I have anything else that I wanted to touch on with you. I think we've covered pretty much everything.
So is there, I can follow up in that channel. Somebody said, where can I buy that shirt? I'll track that down and I'll share that in the New Camp Slack.
Can you type I think if you actually can type it, if you cannot type it in the chat on YouTube, I can probably do it myself.
Okay, yeah, I would have to track it down really quick. It's on my LinkedIn on the New Camp post, actually, because I put the link right in there. So if you have that up right now,
I don't have it here.
Okay, well then I'll have
to. All right, we'll post it after the fact.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we are getting to the end of this hour. I really, really want to thank you, Marisa, for sharing the details of your journey. I think you've inspired a lot of people here. You've had an incredible run and very well deserved, considering your determination, your passion. And again, I really appreciate that you took the time to join us. And I wish you the best. I want to let's stay in touch on the Slack community, of course. And everyone, thank you for joining. Thank you. We'll have another show next week. Get your microphone and camera ready. No trolls this time, I hope. We'll see. I've been warned that YouTube actually may have a problem if we're trolled and stuff is kind of not. If it's PG, then we may have. If it's rated R, we may have an issue. So that wasn't the case this time. I hope next time we won't have those problems as well. Thank you very much, Marisa. Again, take care.
Yes,
everyone.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
a good weekend.
Good luck, everyone. Stay strong. You'll get through it.